Okay, so I've started up the video kind of just as we've started the 50-100 level of a £3.30 bounty hunter on Sky Poker. 34 out of 77 runners left. We're sitting on about 3,500 chips. Just had a little bit of an accident actually and lost a couple of thousand, which has put us a little bit below average. But what I'm going to try and do is just make some comments on my play and my thinking during the middle stages of this tournament, and see how far we can go with the tournament. Really, I'm hoping to get sort of a 45-minute video, and really just, as I said, try and give my thoughts on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, the players at the tables, and sort of just how I think during these sections, and really just looking for some feedback from people on what's good, what's bad, areas for improvement, and all of that. Really, hope it's useful. Marvellous. It looks as though we may already have a problem with the video capture and it's all fucked up, which is going to cut this whole project very short. We'll see what happens in a couple of minutes, but I think we may be having problems yet again. Okay, right, I don't know what's happened there. There was a huge bunch of play that just seems to have been completely missed off the video. I did pause it for a break at one stage. All I can assume is that it's managed to delete everything, or practically everything, that was recorded before the break. Never mind, we'll carry on from here and see where we get. Hopefully it's not going to fuck up again, but who can tell. As you can see, the tournament's now moved on. We're now at the 100-200 level with just sort of 4 minutes left in that level. 25 out of the 77 runners left. We're sat on just about 7,500 chips, so a little bit above average. A great spot to kind of push on and hopefully get a deep run in the tournament. Yeah, I'll try and comment on hands when interesting things happen, otherwise I'll just sit here quietly and see how things progress. You'll see me from time to time during the video skipping over to my iTunes and rating songs. I'm trying to update my ratings on songs on the iTunes just as they appear and come on, so you'll get an idea of my taste in music as we go through this. Okay, I mean obviously a lot of this is just going to be standard stuff, folding small hands and trying to make best use of our chips when we've got good spots and good cards to get chips in the middle. I see I'm just making a note on a player who just made the previous hand an absolutely awful call on a king eye board with king 3, and it's absolutely obvious the guy has to have a king, and he's calling B. I like to make notes like that purely to use in future situations. You know, if I'm in a similar situation where I'm betting top pair and this guy's coming along for the ride, I'm happy to get chips in against those sort of players, so I always find it useful to have that kind of information in the notes box. Yeah, I remember this hand actually. The flop came down and I was half tempted to bet it as a really terrible semi-bluff to the gut shot, and then decided to check it. The play was really passive from all the other players on the table, so I was going to have a stab at it, but once you get three-way action on a jack-eye flop, I'm more than happy to get away from that very quickly. Yeah, this was seem to remember this hand. I know it might be a different hand I'm thinking of. See what happens. Okay, so just raising into the big blind. I've also at this point got in mind the King 3 hand that he played, and in being particularly weak. So obviously I'm going to c-bet on this flop. Most of the time I'm pretty unlucky if it's a queen here. Actually, this is the hand I was thinking of. At this point I've got some equity in the hand, so I'm quite happy just to check it and let him bet. I find his bet here really strange when he bets out 1200 and only gives himself 900 back. I can't fold my jack, so I push it all in, and he's played his aces. He's actually played his aces really well there, and kind of a lot better than I was giving him credit for, in all honesty. So I suppose that shows one of the dangers, relying on just one note and one hand that you've seen on a player. You know, I made him in my head to be an absolute spew monster, and happy to get my chips in against him, and he's already an absolute monster in the big blind. But hey ho. And that's obviously put a big dent in our chip stack as well, but straight away pick up nines here and happy to continue playing. I think it also looks a little bit like it could be tilting off of that last hand if I carry on playing aggressively at this point as well. This hand, ace-4 suited in middle position. It's not a hand I love. Again, remember this, and remember the limp in early position always kind of worries me. So I decided to fold this hand and let discretion be the better part of valour. And you know, this kind of highlights why I don't like to play ace-4 in that position as well. So if pot comes down ace-high, I think I'm going to really struggle to get away from that board if I'm holding ace-4 and there's action betting straight into it. And I think that this could have become a very expensive pot if I had decided to play that ace-4, particularly if I'd have played it aggressively, which I would normally do against a limp open. And then obviously this guy gets a big bet in on the turn here, which is a real scary bet, particularly as when he has done this he's shown quite a lot of strength. So fairly glad that I didn't play the ace-4 now. Okay, yeah, here I just started looking through the lobby because this is a level, sort of £3.30 bounty hunters that I play quite a lot, and at this sort of stage of a tournament, when you've got 20 left and the bubbles, the cash bubbles at 10 runners, I kind of like to look who's left in the tournament, what players I know, what I know about certain players, and kind of just get a feel for how the tournament is all together. I may talk about that a little bit later as I sort of start looking through the lobby a bit more. This again was one of those hands. He's opened a 5x under the gun. I'm sat in the big blind with threes, and I really only have two options now. I've got to fold or jam on him, and he wasn't the sort of player that I thought was going to fold after putting a 5x opening. So again, sort of fold my 3 zone and wait for a better spot. But at this point, the way that he's playing, I'm starting to think, you know, I'm looking for spots to get chips in against that player. He seemed to be definitely the most unpredictable on the table, so he looked a good spot to score a double up off of. Unfortunately, I think I wasn't the only person on the table that was thinking that way. Yeah, easy. I'm scrolling through the lobby again, just sort of seeing where we stand in relation to everybody else, but also seeing who else is in there. And there are a couple of names that I'm familiar with and I've played against quite a bit, so I just wanted to see how they were doing as well. I'm just highlighting here, I've got 7,700 chips and the blinds are due to go up in 7 minutes to 153, which is going to leave us just over 20 big blinds. So already at this stage I'm starting to think about 3-betting spots, even 3-bet shoving spots if the situation looks right, just to pick up chips, because I want to stay kind of above that 20 big blind level. if I possibly can, because it gives us a lot more options and a lot more play. Yeah, again, this hand just again illustrates where the spots are on the table. You know, exactly what I was saying. They've got a guy there who's going to play badly and call off light. He got himself into a situation where he couldn't possibly fold to a player who's obviously beating him. And, you know, this is very much in my head at this stage. I'm looking to target that player and hopefully score a double up off of him, and get himself right back into the top end of the tournament. Yeah, and I don't sort of say that disrespectfully to the player. You know, he's got his chips; he can do what he wants with them. But it does highlight my thought process at this stage of the tournament, and I very often will look for spots on the table that are easier spots, and you kind of know where your chips are coming from. And I think that's a really important skill during the middle sections of a tournament, and something that not a lot of players at the lower stakes tend to think about. Yeah, you can see I've come to the bottom of the lobby now. I'm really not liking the position that we're in. Fourth from bottom with 19 left, so we're running 15th out of 19th. Just over half average stack. Just over 20 bigs. Really starting to think now about seriously needing the double up and to move up the lobby if we possibly can. So again, it's always in my head at this point looking for spots. If I can find good 3-bet shoving spots, then you know that's exactly what I'm looking to do. This is just a few comments on the Facebook page after I had one of my melodramas a few nights ago and retired from poker. Somebody taking the mickey out of me. Okay, that hand there, 9-10 off under the gun. It's one of those hands that at this stage of a tournament, if I was a lot deeper, I'm more than happy to open those hands. But when I'm only playing 20 big blinds, it's not a hand I'm wanting to raise folded, and a lot of the time I don't have a deep enough stack to be able to put pressure on players if I do see a flop. So it's one of those under the gun I'm always going to release. I would probably still look to raise it from the cut off, and maybe even from the from the button, and maybe even from the cut off, dependent on the players and stacks that are in the big blinds. Now this hand was a very silly move by me. I decided to defend with King 3 against the guy with a short stack. He puts in a c-bet here. It's a big c-bet, which in my mind I'm perceiving as being quite weak. He's only leaving himself 1,300 behind, but I've only got 4,000 myself. I decide he's not hit it, and 3-bet shove with my king 3. So obviously he's made his jack, hits another one on the turn, and we're down to a very, very short stack, and really looking for spots to get it in and double up, and hopefully do double up again to stand any chance of going any further in the tournament. Now pick up an ace the very next hand, limper under the gun, so I'm happy to get it in there even with ace deuce. If I get a call, see what happens on the flop. Called by ace 4. The board came down very friendly here, helped me out a lot, so we're still in the tournament, albeit with only 10 big blinds. So again, looking for shoving spots. Again, very next hand, pick up ace jack, but a much bigger ace this time. Obviously got in mind, the guy's called me ace 4 net last hand. Pretty sure he's going to call with pretty much anything if I jam it all in again. He's one of these that's looking for head prizes, so quite happy to jam it in with ace jack. He's called me with queen deuce, which is a marvellous spot for me. So a nice double up, and still short stacked, but at least back in the tournament with a playable stack, 20 big blinds. Ace deuce here with 20 bigs, completely different situation. I'm not going to be opening, particularly after 2 shoves in a row, so I'm quite happy just to fold that and wait for a better situation to arise. Again, 6-8 off is one of these hands. If I'm deeper in these situations, I'm really quite happy to be raising, to be opening with 6-8, but being so shallow, again, got to wait for better situations than that, because it's really not often that people are folding. And here we go, pick up aces the next hand, thinking this is great if I can just open this under the gun, get a raiser, and then 3-bet jam it, nice double up coming my way, and then folds all the way around to me, and I just pick up the blinds. But yeah, that's how it goes. Now this was a spot where I really considered making this call because of the player that I'm playing against, and I think possibly with ace deuce there, I could be ahead in a lot of spots. We could easily be jamming king 10, even king 9, and better really under the gun, but discretion again, better part of valor, decided not to. Next time pick up king queen, got 1 limper. I almost jammed this, but decided that that a raise looked even stronger, which seemed to work well. And I also had in my head at that point that if the big blind decides to go with his hand, I'm quite happy to raise this 2,500 chips with king queen, because a lot of the time I know I'm good against him, and the raise was good enough to get rid of the big stack, the guy who could have taken me out. So at this stage, we're back to just above 5,000 chips. Rallied quite well from being down below 2,000, and thinking, yeah, we might have a chance at running deep in the tournament again. Pick up ace queen here. Notice he was away, which annoyed me really, because I'm pretty sure I'm getting a call from him, or even a raise if I can get the chips in. Lovely flop for us, ace high. I always, because there's a flush draw on there, the diamonds, I always tend to size my bet a little bit bigger than half pot here. I'm not sure whether that's a good or bad move. This guy's 1,700 left behind. I've got ace queen, I've got to get him in here. a snap call, and he runs out really lucky on the river and hits a 6 to double pair it, and my kicker doesn't play. I think if we win that hand, it puts us in a really good position to make a good deep run, and I'm pretty confident if I'd have won that one hand where I'd got it in as a really big favourite, that I'd have been looking good to make final table in this tournament. Ace-6 under the gun here, again one of those hands that, because of stack size, I'm really not happy playing. I want to be able to either jam that hand or be deep enough to raise fold, and you know, in that particular situation under the gun, neither of them are possible. And again, that said, when this player jams, I actually think I may have been ahead there. So if I had raised, he jammed, and I make a call, who knows, we could be adding another 2,000-3,000 chips to our stack. No, I think that's a pretty standard spot really. Ace-5 under the gun with 3,000, I'm probably jamming there. The 9s are always going to snap it. I'm just one of those hands. Okay, this hand again, I'm not sure. I think that this is a pretty good steal opportunity. Guy's paying 3,500. He's got about just short of a tenth of his stack in. King 2 on the button. I think if I raise there, a lot of the time I'm taking the pot down, but I chickened out and folded. And I think on that flop, a lot of the time, I would have won this pot. I find the action from the small blind here really quite interesting when you see the cards turned over at the end of this hand. I don't know what he's expecting to happen when he checks this river. You know, I think when I get to that turn, I'm never going to check down the turn in the river. Oh, this was a spewy hand. You know, I've got 10s in the cut-off. Put a raise in. My only concern with the 10s here is that the big blind is very deep. He's got the big stack on the table, and when he calls me here, and then I get 3 overcards on the flop, it's just one of those horrible spots. If I c-bet here and I'm called, I'm never ever ahead. So I decided to check it. I don't know whether a c-bet's a better option there, and as soon as he leads out here, I just can't see that I'm ever good, unless he's not really shown any propensity to bluff. So I'm putting him on a pure value bet there. So I think it has to be a snap fold on the 10s. And in the chat box, you know, he said it's a good fold, and I can't imagine that my 10s are ever good. And I say just one of those spewy spots against. On most flops, I'm getting it in with 10s there, but you know, another one of those situations. Yeah, pocket fours here, playing a little, well, what is it, about 15 bigs, and he's raised up to a 3x at this stage of the tournament. I just really don't like it. To me, it looks like a weak bet, and because the blinds are going up, and I'm only going to be playing 10 big blinds very shortly, I'm happy to get it in and hope I'm flipping at this stage. He makes a call, and that's exactly what we've got. It's a flip situation. The flop comes down massive for him. I'm drawing to 2 cards, and that's us done. Out in 15th place, 5 off of the money, and only took 1 head prize during the tournament. But you know, there are a few hands there that I think